There are presently 1.5 million people incarcerated in America. And when we think about the effects of mental health, the anxiety, the post-traumatic stress, that the incarceration of individuals have not just on the person who is incarcerated, but on their entire family. We think about the generational trauma that gets exasperated on an entire group of people because we have seen that the numbers favor some over others. So I want to commend the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Caucus, our corrections chair, the speaker, and the staff for recognizing that this is a critical time, and it's a critical time and a time of reckoning in our New York State prisons. It is time to stand up for people who have been forgotten about by too many people. But remember, I remember Robert Brooks. He was a 43-year-old Black man who was beaten in front of everyone for the world to be able to see. It was embarrassing, not just as a New Yorker, but as I was watching, as this video was being shared all around the world. On that fatal date on December 9th in a Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County. His hands were cuffed behind his back, and he was attacked by more than a dozen corrections officers. Yes, this bill does provide a comprehensive study. Yes, this bill does provide a collection of data. And yes, it does shore up our need for camera footage. And we all recognize that oversight helps to bring darkness to light. But guess what? In addition to the fact of him being punched, kicked, bloodied, there are so many people who may be experiencing those same experiences just today. Like there's a ticker in Times Square that will calculate how many people are being affected by a certain situation. I wonder what would happen if we had that ticker on the New York State Thruway as we were coming in here and we could all recognize just how critical and crucial this moment is. Because guess what? Right after we mourned the death of Robert Brooks, another Black man, 22-year-old Messiah, as we had heard, was killed in a nearby mid-state correctional facility in only 3 months. Since the time of Robert Brooks's death, 75 more people have died in New York State custody. 75 more families now carry that grief. Can you imagine that? So I'm voting for this bill, for this oversight bill, because our incarcerated neighbors deserve, at a bare minimum, transparency and accountability. Far too often they are condemned in the dark. And we must fight even harder to ensure that the brutality, neglect, and dehumanization does not persist. Oversight alone, as we know, will not stop the harm. It tells us what happened after the fact, but does not stop people from being trapped in conditions like this to begin with. We have to end this culture of brutality by any means necessary. We know that the safest communities have the most resources, not the most police officers. So when we invest in our communities, we begin building men while they are still boys. We recognize that we need money for education, not for mass incarceration. Since Robert Brooks was brutally murdered, we know that he was doing so many different things that was trying to better himself so that when he got back out into society, he could be a better person. He earned his GED. He studied sign language, horticulture, maintenance. He completed programs, made amends, and worked every day to build a future for himself and his family. He told his father that he wanted to mentor young people, be credible messengers within the community to let people know what happens when a quick decision gets made that will land you up in a place you may not want to be. But instead of a second chance to come home and do just that, he got a death sentence. The purpose of our criminal justice system must be to rehabilitate rather than excessively punish. But instead, we keep trapping predominantly Black and brown people in our carceral system. We need a new path forward to which this bill is aligning us with. Brutalizing prisoners is illegal, it's inhumane, and it must stop now. That is why sentencing reform is urgent. Yes, it's important to oversight and document the harm, but sentencing reform prevents it from even happening. So, of course, some of the other bills that was introduced in this package includes the Second Look Act, which gives judges the power to review long sentences after 10 years and recognize real transformation. We know that the Earned Time Act, which is also a part of the original package, allows for people to earn meaningful time off their sentence through work, education, and programming. There needs to be an opportunity for a release mechanism from this madness. Continuing to keep people behind bars in barbaric situations, as we've heard, on behalf of the folk who are working there each and every day, who are expecting to come home safe to their families, and the people who are incarcerated. When we keep them caged up, a lot of times people talk about the crab in a barrel concept. But guess what? Yes, when crabs are in barrels, they're trying to pull down other crabs. But barrels is not the natural habitat for a crab. A crab in the ocean is thriving. They're doing the things that they need to be doing in order to take care of themselves. And so when you put people inside of a cage and they began to act cage-like, and we sit on the sidelines and we are watching like we are at a wrestling match, as we are at a boxing match, as we are at the Coliseum. This is the type of thing that we can expect. We know what the definition of insanity is. When we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, who is the problem? Who's really insane here? So, of course, we have to encourage growth and increase safety for each and every person behind a prison wall. And Second Look is more than just a bill. It's a chance to honor the humanity of those who have grown, changed, and served time beyond, far beyond what the public demands. I come from Brownsville, as everyone knows, where families live every day with the consequences of harsh, unyielding sentencing laws that tears families apart and destabilizes our communities. While on Pickens Avenue, we have a hard time just getting economic growth. But we will watch each and every day as the numbers of police officers who are filling the 73rd precinct continue to double each and every day. We need to address mental health issues and trauma that people experience at a young age in order for us to get at and lose the cycles of violence before we decide to slam those individuals behind cages. We cannot simply monitor suffering. We must prevent it. We must recognize that that people are far more worse than their one-time mistake. We must recognize more often than not that people should not be defined by their one mistake. And we must build a system that believes in second chances and believes in our people. Second Look would have created a pathway for people to demonstrate transformation and deliver justice rooted in dignity and safety. Although this may have been a missed opportunity in this present situation, it is not the end. We will continue to keep fighting because we owe that to Robert Brooks. We owe that to the 75 others who have died since his death. And we owe that to all of the individuals who are presently behind bars, not just here in the state of New York, but the entire 1.5 million Americans who are incarcerated today, because New York State needs to continue to lead the way on justice, on criminal justice, and we must always do what's right for fairness, justice, and equity.